Sanjog, good to see you. Thanks for giving me a bit of time because I know, like every entrepreneur, I know you've got plenty to keep you busy. So I appreciate you making a bit of time to come and have a chat with me. I want to kick off with something that we were talking about last time we spoke, and I'm just checking my notes here. You said to me that you do a lot of work around helping people with thought leadership, and the phrase you used was it's like a gym for the soul, which I thought was a really good way of expressing what you're doing. Tell me about a bit more about what you do and why does it matter?
All right. So there are a number of facets to what I do. So I'll just give you an idea. So I run a thought leadership media company for enterprise technology leaders. That is one. And then attached to it is a thought leadership marketing agency that supports large technology solutions and product and service providers and how to position themselves as thought leaders and also help build brand awareness and get their pipelines, if you will. So the revenue generation and perception creation about who they are and how they create value. That's that. Then separately, I wrote a book, The Tricycle Way, which is being converted into a platform. And that is around how to look within for happiness and how to stop racing through life and start enjoying the ride. And even that is about self-leadership, which is you got to work on yourself before you try to teach others what you do. And work in a manner so that while you get success, you also have a smile on your face and satisfaction in your heart.
Yeah.
And that can only be done when people work on themselves. So essentially, everything that I try to do is to inspire positive change by provoking thought. And thought leadership is more of a manifestation or a word that is used for it.
Yeah. Before we get into, I'd like to come back to the thought leadership piece because that's a very interesting area. But before we get into that, tell me about the background to the book, because that seems to be a really interesting area. And the other thing is, I'm a big fan of CEOs, leaders, business people taking a bit of time out to reflect and think about what they're doing. And it seems to me there's a lot in there about what you're talking about. So tell us about the background to the book. Where did the book come from? And why is that stuff so important to you?
Well, so as I started my career, in technology back in 1992 and came to United States from India in 1995. And while I was working through my visa status and as you go through green card and US citizenship, I started a company, which is staffing and consulting firm, and continued to start building it. But then in 2003, I started a talk show, which was to get topmost leaders from around the world to come and talk about strategic technology management and leadership. So, and then that itself blossomed into a media company and a marketing agency. So you imagine you're running a staffing and consulting firm, you're running a media company and associated marketing agency, and not for the faintest of the hearts. It's a lot of work. Now, who paid the price? My health, my family, my sanity. So, in fact, this is all written in that book that my wife was almost about to leave me. My 3-year-old daughter, she did not put me in the family drawing, and my son locked me out in the garage. So that's the price I paid, and that's what was the awakening, if you will, to see why I have to pay such a big price for something which, yes, I'm proud of what I've built, but was it worth it? So I said, okay, I cannot let my family go for this. So I worked on it, tried to turn things around, God willing, and God bless that things got turned around. But I said, there are a lot of people like me who may be racing through life like this, like powerboaters. And if they are losing, and many people have already had the horror stories. I was lucky that I did not die because I was at a point in Seattle doing an event and I was having many heart attacks at that very moment. So I've had those harrowing situations. So I said, there are a lot of people who were not as fortunate as me who could bounce back and got their family back and, resume normalcy. So whatever I did to turn around things, I had put that in form of a framework, which I introduced in my book, which is like you're putting all your attributes, attitudes, and actions that you have, which make you what you are, like what's happening inside you. I mapped it to different parts of a tricycle. And the idea is, if you work on yourself, you just look within yourself and follow that framework of assessing where you are, what you need to do, just looking yourself within yourself, your outside world will change for the better on all dimensions. And that was my gift. So I said, okay, I wrote the book. That's great. It's out there. But a lot of people get a lot of self-help books, a lot of frameworks. So I said, let's not stop there. So I hired psychologists and instructional designers, and we've been building the platform with courses, content, coaching, community, and make it available for the people so that they can actually adopt the tricycle way, which is a way to happiness, a way of thinking, a way of living.
And how does that, I mean, how has that manifested itself in your life? I mean, you had that incident, if you like, when you realized there was a problem. You decided to do something about it, and you clearly have. What are the other things that have flowed from that? I mean, I mean, for example, would you say it's made you a better leader, that experience? I mean, what are the other implications of going down that road, that change of tack, if you like?
So if I were to connect to leadership, right? A leader has to be an individual who is authentic and is always true to themselves, whether speech, thought, or action. And you can always get tempted with the pressures of life that you could, drop that, or sometimes you're authentic, other times you're not. So that painful awareness of that, if you're going to do that, it's almost like you're putting rust on the frame of a tricycle. And if it gets worn down, the whole tricycle will come crumbling down. So because of building it and because of building those visual metaphors, it literally stays there. And as soon as there's a temptation, I think tricycle, I think, well, if I want to be leading, then I have to behave like a leader, I have to think like a leader, I have to talk like a leader. And then I have a framework to go back on and what are the implications if I don't do it. That's just one. Then if you are a leader, if you're trying to have people follow you and or come along with you, that means they're not going to follow you because you have the enigma or the gravitas. It is more the purpose that you're trying to take forward or a purpose you're trying to help fulfill. So which means purpose is there. Yeah. Then there are so many other elements related to you trying to be a giver versus, a lot of people take pride in being a go-getter. I say, why can't you be a go-giver? Because most people who give and not give because they will get something back, but to receive as a result, they'll receive a lot more. And that's what a leader does. They always give, and what they receive is the support and the following and the ability for the whole team to go out there and make a difference. Yeah. And that is just the beginning. I mean, I can keep talking for this particular subject.
No, I get it. And that's a helpful illustration, I think, for the people that are listening. Well, one of the other things that has struck me when we've spoken is that you always come across as, I mean, you have a passion for what you do, but you always come across as very calm. I mean, I came away from our last conversation thinking you're a bit Zen-like, Is part of that kind of inner work leading to that outer calmness? I mean, has that been one of the...
Absolutely. And you know what? There is another term which is also included in the book is being thankful for whatever you have. You can always count things which you don't have. You start worshiping what you lack.
Yeah.
And that's what's the source of frustration. That's what's the source of people start saying that the life is happening to me. I say, you know what? Life is happening for you. And if something is happening, and this is also, it takes some training, what I've tried to do, and I've always, being a student of, is as soon as something starts happening, in front of you or with you or around you, you can abstract yourself from that moving train of sorts and watch it. Yeah. Because it's not happening to you, because you're outside of it. You can watch and you can observe, you can do problem solve, you can rationalize, and that allows the calmness to come in. That's one. The second is when you're happy, because one of the adverse effects of that approach is you can become very detached, that nothing phases you, but also nothing makes you happy either. So then you have to train yourself to say, when there are fun moments, jump back in the car or jump back on the train. So one is gratitude, another is detachment.
Yeah.
You combine these two and nothing phases you because you accept. You've got a very high degree of acceptance because of these things.
Yeah, which is a bit Zen-like, actually, isn't it? I mean, does it relate? And I don't know because we haven't spoken about this in the past. But does any of this relate to your religion? I mean, I don't know whether you're Hindu or Muslim or where what
So
you're.
I'm a Hindu, but frankly, the whole book and my way of thinking, I'm totally gender biased, I'm religion biased, I'm everything. Because see, frankly, these are all human things,
Right.
right? And your internal DNA came before what you see outside of the skin. So I always, basically, I'm driven by what's going on under my skin.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's not really related to the religious kind of piece. I was wondering whether there was a kind of that was part of the background to it.
So, I mean, is there a question in there? Because as I said, for me, all religions are doing nothing else but trying to help people live a better life and
actually,
of value around you.
Was it inspired by religious thinking? I suppose was probably the question that was in my mind, or did it just come out of the experiences that you had? I mean, I'm wondering what the connection is. That's all.
See, everybody's thinking and the way they start looking at life is shaped by the things they go through.
Yeah.
Right? And I've had a lot of things that have happened with me. I lost my dad when I was in final year of my college, and I was literally a kiddo in my heart and my brain. But suddenly everything changed because a lot of things came on me. And then, as you go to a totally different country, try to build something, and then you go through with these roller coaster rides, if you will, right? Then you try to, and I'm the fortunate few who at least are able to pause and say what happened here. And of course, since I'm Hindu and I've read other, type of literature as well, I see there is a commonality. And all of that just tells you that, frankly, this life is meant to help you enjoy and get experiences. And if you leave it at that versus trying to acquire stuff, then you will have a lot better journey.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm encouraged by that thinking, actually, because it kind of recognizes that people can all rub along together if we accommodate each other and take a bit more time and think and reflect and make concessions and all the rest of it. So I think that's quite an encouraging approach, particularly in business where those things are really important. Let me move on to the thought leadership piece, which I think is, it's very, very popular. I mean, a lot of people want to establish themselves as thought leaders. And I know you've done a lot of work in that space. What was behind that sort of move? Why did you want to get into, if you like, helping people become thought leaders? I mean, I haven't come across anybody else that's doing that so far. I mean, I've come across people that would say they're thought leaders, but not people that are helping them become that. I mean, give us your take on the background to that and why that's important to you.
So, frankly, even an animal can feed themselves, etc., right? If you've come here and you've been bestowed with this unique capabilities that a human has, that means you could create value for all others and the environment around you. And thought leadership comes from the standpoint that you found something which is connected to your gifts or aligned to your gifts, and using those, you can make a difference. Now, if you find it to be a purpose and find your tribe who you want to serve, how would you serve them? Yeah, you could be a repairman, but that's you using your skill. Somebody gives you an order, that's a transaction. But can your existence make the world better and make people do things better or think better just because you were there? So if you have to do that, that means you have to help people learn how to fish, not feed them fish. And if they have to learn how to fish and also see that by them learning, they could pay it forward and do something for someone else. So thought leadership, if you think at the very foundation, is an ability and an intent, both.
Right.
That takes you forward in helping make a difference in other people's lives by you rising yourself and continually investing in yourself and knowing that this you're doing with a sense of giving. A good thought leader, or rather a thought leader, cannot become a thought leader if they did not have a clear purpose, that who and the tribe that they're trying to serve, who will benefit from this. They did not have a sense of giving versus saying, okay, I wrote an article, I got 20,000 views, and they start again gloating in that vanity metric, right? If as a result of what you do consistently for a tribe with very, very deep sense of quality and purpose, then it starts bringing difference in other people's lives. See, my best reward, even as a show host, I've been running it for like 23 years, is when I have a person from Singapore or from Germany or from wherever, and their comment comes, Sanjog, what you're doing in terms of facilitating this dialogue with technology leaders is helping me become a better leader. So even though I did not create a thought leadership there, the people who were coming, but my contribution was to stay focused on what's the best way to get most value out of those conversations.
Yeah.
And that's just one way of doing it. And then other people, when we do in technology or we help in B2B marketing or as an individual or as an entrepreneur, I say the only way people will get attracted to you if you are selflessly helping them think beyond what they have been able to do themselves in specific areas where you truly have depth or you're building depth.
So tell me about how that works from a more practical point of view. I mean, it's a lovely sort of, if you like, underlying philosophy that you've just set out there. Let's say somebody comes to you and says, I want to become a thought leader in, I don't know, carbon trading or whatever area, whichever industry they're in. I mean, how do you help people develop in that way I mean, just talk us through how the practicalities of this work.
Okay, so if you say, I want to be a thought leader in this space, you got to really know that space.
Yeah.
Right? And to know them, you cannot just read a book and sit on a recliner and do that. So you got to go and talk to the tribe, the one which you're trying to serve. And you have to actually try to understand what problems are they facing today, or they're likely to face tomorrow. What are they trying to do to solve that for today or, gear up for tomorrow? What has worked, what has not worked so far, and where are they stuck? And if something was to happen, how will that benefit them? And if it doesn't get done, then what risk does it create and what do they lose? And when you start asking these specific questions, and you ask them questions not in prose and poetry, but in bullet points, or you let them talk in prose and poetry, but you distill it down to bullet points. So what you've done is you profiled your persona, the target persona. And in fact, not your target persona, the persona's customer or the people who they're trying to impact. And once you get that information, then you say, okay, so if you had to write, you had to read, you had to think, you have to speak. How will you, every time when you say something, will offer something which is meaningful, something actionable, and something which will create an outcome? And how will you measure that outcome? So everything we notice, there is a lot of precision to what you do versus prose and poetry and, just simple talk. And you put it on paper. And then when you create something next time, so if a person is going to become a thought leader or try to become one, they are going to create a presentation, they're going to write something, they might say, I want to do a monologue on a podcast, etc., right? So I say, if you say whatever you say, and you use ChatGPT or any other LLM for that matter, and just say, give me the insights that it gave, and you match it to what the person was looking for, the person who you're trying to serve. If there is a misalignment between the two, then why the heck did you talk about that subject? So if you do not have a benchmark established up front, you don't have the clarity of who you're serving up front and how will that actually benefit them. And you put it in front of you and let that become the yardstick of everything that you do to that end. And if you're not having enough thoughts, guess what? You got to sit down and think, you got to read more, you have to stay a student. You can never call yourself expert. Because as soon as you say you're an expert, your learning stops.
I mean, it's a very, your final point there about the learning stops is a very interesting one, because I mean, the counter argument that is, I see a lot of thought leadership stuff. I mean, lots of people put it out, But a lot of it, to be quite frank, is not that exciting. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's not hugely exciting. I mean, for people to be really successful, they have to have something that is just a little bit more exciting, a little bit more provocative, a little bit more interesting than all the other stuff that's out there. How do you help people develop that edge, that thing that makes their stuff just a bit more exciting, a bit more provocative, a bit more interesting than the other stuff? Because, I mean, I could write stuff. I mean, I've written lots of stuff, but most of it's not that great. How do you help people, if you like, go the extra mile?
Okay, so I'll give you a simple analogy. You take a glass of water and you start pouring it out.
Mhm.
After some point, there'll be no more water left.
Yeah.
So there is no more water to give. Yeah? Which means you got to continually put more water in that glass for it to be, pouring out to somebody else or for someone else. Like a jug of water being poured into glass. So after some time, jug has no more water.
Yeah.
So the same concept applies to thought leadership. That's one, right? That means you have to continually learn at a much faster pace than you're trying to dole things out. Number one. Number two, it has to be mapped back to the benchmark of what these other people wanted versus what you want. You don't want to blow your steam when you're thinking thought leadership. You have to always say, whatever I put out,
Yeah.
instead of it having the sizzle, it should have substance. Number one.
Yeah.
And that substance also in such a way so that it doesn't come across as sermon. It comes across as very actionable set of insights or lived experiences which you can share, which will have the nuances. So if a person has been a plumber and who's been expert in fixing basement leakages, that person will know the nuances of what it takes to fix basement leakages and those unique situations when you encounter what to do about them. Yeah. And there will be fewer people who may be looking for a plumber with specialization in basement leakages, but whosoever they do, they would truly appreciate it. So don't try to boil the ocean. Maybe by design, reduce your tribe who you're trying to create impact for. So the excitement doesn't come from words, so the function comes before the form. I could have a person who stutters but has got good things to say. I would listen to him. I might see a poor grammar, but when I see a nugget, I will pick that up.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people like Stephen Hawking, I mean, they can barely spell. He passed away now.
So we use this concept called unmarketing thought leadership. So you should not think marketing. You should not think positioning. Yeah. You don't think about the value it will bring to you.
Yeah.
You simply submit to the tribe that you're serving.
Yeah. 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 And that focus on creating value for them is bound to be a good thing for you ultimately, isn't it?
That's what I'm saying. I've never yet, I'm just saying, I've been around the block, 34 years in the industry. I've never repented being a giver. Mm. I've almost every time gotten more than I need. And frankly, most of my customers will not try to do a vendor customer with me. They will say, we have this problem. Sanjog, how to solve it? Mm. That's a different versus, okay, they ask for a proposal and everything else, but that becomes more of a formality. But the inherent trust is there because whenever I approached, even though they may not be at that time ready, but if there is something that I've learned and it will benefit them, I share it with them. So that's also there, that if you try to hold back knowledge and the nuanced lived experiences, not everybody has the money or they're not ready for that knowledge or ready to engage you professionally, but if that helps them, that is the sense of giving with which you carry yourself. And frankly, I've not seen anyone who is scared, who is anxious when they're giving. So if you're always giving, you ask for that calmness, right? So when you're always giving, where would you lose the calmness? Tell me.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great way to approach it. Actually, it's there's a sort of a lovely underlying philosophy there that is about helping people that seems to me to be very powerful. Let me ask you about the CIO Talk Network, which was originally, I think, a TV station, wasn't it, when you started? I mean,
it was an online radio. In fact, CBS Radio had approached us at some point.
Right. So it was a radio show to start with, was it?
Yeah, but it was an online talk show that I created. And the thing is, it was always for IT leaders, which is a very niche market. So it was never a mass market worthy effort, but it was it has a lot of depth. Right? So we have people.
How did you go about building that up? Because that seems to me to be a very interesting area. I mean, given that, I know you've been doing this for a long time, but that is an area that has really kind of grown. It's a big area now, isn't it? I mean, very niche to start with, but now it's a very
So when I started back in 2003 October, there were hardly any. In fact, we were doing these podcasts and online sessions before that, was known to most people. Right. And the genesis of this was that as I was running my staffing and consulting firm and outsourcing firm, all of that in one, and also consulting with other companies, I found that people at the top, especially in technology, are very lonely.
Yeah.
So everybody would come and ask the technology leader to help deliver value. But when it comes to them getting help, they only had a bunch of friends who were local to that region, and they will meet each other. And at the end of the day, it will become an echo chamber because it's only so many thoughts they will have. And that, in fact, was very interesting and unfortunate, because if you imagine these guys were all working towards investing in technology and their decisions were only being vetted and or validated, or new ideas only came from a select few sources, that's kind of holding them back, and a lot of money was being spent, and they were responsible for building the technology foundation of a company. So there was a gap. And when I was approached by Voice America Business, which is an online network, they said, would you like to do a host on technology? I said, I would do it, but it will be done for the technology leaders who are from mid to large size company where technology scale and complexity creates unique challenges. I'd rather get such people to come on a discussion, but also at the same time facilitate that dialogue, that discussion is not about, corporate speak or some gibberish or some, flaky stuff. I will dig in. I will try to see what challenges that they are facing. Some of them I knew because I was seeing firsthand, and say, what are you trying to solve? And then if they gave an answer which was flaky, I will further dig in. Because what I wanted is, like, while they also learn from this experience, their minds open up, but also the audience that is consuming this content, they're getting, they are hearing from the horse's mouth. They are getting the spontaneous insight from somebody who had lived experience. We used to call that practitioner viewpoint, right? Because they're a practitioner and it's their viewpoint, it's their lived experience. That is invaluable for anyone around the world. And then over time, of course, we have had the largest of the organizations, their representative, the CIOs and other IT leaders, and even many business leaders also joined. But the concept remained always the same, is that these practitioners provide their lived experience-based insights, and or even if they're thinking openly versus under the pressure of PR, that they have to be super staged. And let those conversations be offered as a stream of very high experience and intellectually stimulating conversation, which people can tap into and gain something which would not be available anywhere else.
Yeah. And let me ask you about that. So, I mean, what you have is lived experience of building a CIO technology network. Now, I mean, just talk about what you've learned from that experience, because that must have been really interesting. I mean, I would have found that interesting. I mean, if you were to look back and think about the journey that you've been on, I mean, what are the big things that have influenced you on that journey? What sort of things have you learned?
So it's a combination of some skills got developed, which is live listening.
Yeah.
That when you're listening, you're not listening to the words, you're listening to the message behind it. Right? Because a lot of people will say same thing differently, but how do you distill that out and get the message? That is one. Then the second thing is, when a leader approaches something, and if they are good leader or they are less of a leader or they are leaders in the making, how their approach to whether it's technology management or leadership or policy or budgets or culture or leadership, how they approach it, it very clearly tells that these people, the way they're thinking, it's getting manifested in the way, the kind of culture and the outcomes that they will be able to deliver, and how many people would follow them. and which tells you what mindset, what communication style, what leadership style, what intent a leader should carry for it to create the intended outcome for all parties involved. So it became a live course in leadership myself, and that's what I tried to use within my company. And at the same time, if anyone comes as a business leader, so I'm not just talking technology thought leadership, and I'm not talking B2B marketing alone. I'm talking about them changing their intent, them rewiring themselves if need be, to become a better leader, because that's where it all starts.
Yeah. And let me ask you, over the years, what sort of impact has it had? I mean, I'm like you, I'm a great believer in hearing stuff from people that have done it. I mean, I'm a great believer in talking to people that have done it. You learn a huge amount by talking to people that have done stuff. What would you say the impact of the network has been on the audience, if you like? I mean, do you get a real sense that people take away a lot from it? I mean, what sort of impact has it had?
So, see, anyone who is senior in at the level at least we do, like directors, VPs, and CXOs, right? They are typically in their very challenging, very busy, a lot of pressure, and a lot of things that they have to deliver, they're looking for. They look for any new ideas which will help them get a quantum leap. They try to validate the ideas they have, because you almost many a times with a lot of senior leadership, you could have an imposter syndrome that am I good enough? Am I thinking right? And a lot of times it is not that they're ignorant, but there could be blind spots.
Yeah.
Right? So people want to prevent $1 million mistake. So at the end of the day, the outcome of whatever we did so far, anyone who is our audience member, senior, most people, and even this is not just a podcast I'm referring to, because CIO Talk Network also has events. We do physical events, we do virtual think tanks. We've got people writing as blogs on our platform, etc. But all of them are essentially run in a manner, or the outcome of that is created in a manner that people walk away, if required, rattled. They walk away enlightened. They walk away energized about the art of the possible, and the hope that, you know what, this is not a doomsday. And that's what you control in any conversation that I facilitate, whether at an event, virtual or podcast, etc., is that if you're coming here, don't let a person walking away from it be more depressed than they came in, or more confused than they came in. What they should get is, so it should give them clarity. It should give them hope.
Yeah. And in terms of that process, I mean, one of the other things that's interesting, about the thought leadership stuff is there's loads of it out there. I mean, there's just loads of stuff. I mean, you can spend your life reading it. How do you sort out, if you like, the signal from the noise? I mean, how do you work out what the good stuff is? Because there's absolutely loads out there. I mean, and, I couldn't tell, actually. Well, I probably could. I have some insight into why there's some of the good stuff and some of the not so good stuff. But do you have a way of working out the signal from the noise?
So, and you're surrounded with a lot of signals and a lot of noise, right? But then what happens is the modality of it is what matters, and the process through which you create something matters. As I said in the very beginning, the way you create thought leadership is first you got to become off-centered, which means take the center away from you and put it on the people who you're serving.
Yeah.
And when you are reading it, you're a consumer, say, of a podcast or a video or a blog or whatever, right? You got to be clear on what you were seeking. If you're soaking for the sake of soaking, you will get something, but you will not know how to apply. So you got to literally measure everything that you are consuming through the lens of what would actually help you.
Yeah.
So if you say in the morning, I say, I help A people solve B problems so they can do C things better so that it creates D benefits, like the ABCD model. And this is what I do. So you don't read for the sake of reading. You say, I'm reading this because it had some, I'm sure they are promising that, okay, if you're going to read this, you're going to get this, right? Or at least the topic tells you. You can make that mapping. And the moment you make that mapping...
Clarify then. Just to clarify, what you're saying is that thought leadership, the beauty of thought leadership is in the eye of the beholder. That's really what you're saying, isn't it? It's the reader that says this is great or it isn't great.
Actually, the beauty of the thought leadership would be, yes, it's in the eyes of the beholder, but it's already too late if you wait for the eyes of the beholder to benchmark it for you or whether you did it right or not.
Right.
The people who can become good thought leaders, they can actually sit on the other side and literally benchmark it as if they will do a ruthless audit of whatever they produced. To say, if I was a person of this kind of a tribe who has this kind of A, B, C, D, as I said, right? Will they get value or not? So at the very inception, what's coming out of your mouth will be interpreted at the listener's ear. But by the time it reaches there, if you're not done your preparation and your due diligence and your creative efforts to make sure that whatever reaches them is worthwhile, then you are doing a disservice to that individual who placed trust on you or gave you your 20 minutes. And at the end of the day, say, what the heck happened? Where did my 20 minutes go?
Yeah.
So responsibility lies with you, and the person who's going to follow you will be the only people who will follow you who will see that you consistently, whenever you make a promise that when you consume this piece of content, it's going to create value. It does create value in a very tangible terms.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and then when you look back on all the ones that you've done, I mean, are there any particular examples of really interesting pieces of thought leadership that have really kind of, really set the world on fire, if you like? I mean, is there anything that's come out that you think that has a really powerful impact? Have you got any examples?
So the kind of world that I play in, the audience is like a CXO, right? They're not going to come and hug me, right? But we get a very quiet display of quality, acceptance of quality, and also that, yes, this would be meaningful and they would share it with their teams.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's one. And then when you talk about earth-shattering, I'm not looking for that vanity metric that how many people engaged, if that actually created impact.
And by impact, sorry, let me just break it in. By impact, you're saying the impact is that it makes the reader think about.
Actually, beyond that, impact is one, yes, it makes a person is intrigued, they pay attention, they might take notes, but the impact is, well, whether they were able to find it valuable enough that they share with others, and whether they do it themselves or share with others, those people in turn end up utilizing it because advice had the depth.
Yeah.
So you had the right sources, you picked up the pressing questions, you asked them in a manner where nobody kind of dances around it. And those things, when are distributed to the people and they get access to it and then they use it, that's the reward.
Yeah. And let me ask you, has the thought leadership business, if you like, kind of been dumbed down? I mean, I've heard this, and you may well want to disagree with this, but I've heard people saying that, the stuff that was written 20, 30 years ago was really high class. And now there's so much stuff out there. A lot of it is rubbish. I mean, is there a process that, if you like, is dumbing down thought leadership so that it's really, some of it, a lot of it is really not at the kind of cutting edge? I mean, what's your take on the way the culture around that has changed?
See, everybody's, the word this phrase thought leadership is bastardized quite a bit, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is, one of the best way of doing is that whosoever is sharing this content or sharing this advice, have they lived it? Right? Or have they been thinking and hypothesizing? So that's why, if you notice, there are practitioners who have lived it. Then there are academics who have spent their life researching about it. Then they've got people who are analysts who have seen the trends and they have studied the trends and brought some patterns in front of you.
Yeah.
What you're essentially doing through thought leadership is helping a person make decisions and think beyond what they have been thinking and include the parameters which should govern those decisions.
Yeah.
Whether it is your life or business, if you notice, everything is dependent on a set of decisions you make.
So what you're saying is that thought leadership is valuable if it changes people's decisions. That's what you're saying, isn't it?
If I were to basically simplify it to that point, that if I was able to do things differently, that is also a decision, right? If I was not doing something, if I start doing it, that is a good decision. If I stop doing something as a result of that thought leadership, that is a decision.
It's behavior change.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, for example, over the weekend, I've just read this book. And it was a really, really interesting, it was a business book. I won't say which one. It was a business book. And I came away, and I'm not going to do anything as a result. So although it was an interesting read, it hasn't, I don't think it will change my behavior. I will come away with a few little things from it. And so what you're saying is that might be a good book, but it's not really thought leadership because it isn't going to change my behavior in any particular way. Is that a reasonable assessment?
It is, and at the same time, also thought leadership establishes the credibility that whatever you're going to say next will even be heard. So I've had situations like we work on the CTNAON, which is the B2B thought leadership marketing agency, and we get customers who say, you know what, we actually have got rock stars in the house, but then many customers or prospects, they don't even invite us to ideate with them because they don't feel we are worthy of it.
Yeah.
Why? Because they're demoted over time to become an execution folks that, okay, you tell me what you want to do. We are an order taker. We are going to execute. But instead, if they can help those people think beyond what they have been thinking, that respect that generates is what allows them to talk to you even more to say, okay, can you help me co-think this through? And then if they are able to successfully do that, then they'll say, can you help me execute this as well? That's how business happens, right? Yeah. But if you're not even invited to the room, it's because people have not seen you as worthy enough and because you have to first show how you think.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a very good point, actually.
And the only way you can do it is through thought leadership. Yeah. So your elevation of your persona, your company's persona, your executive's persona.
Yeah, it's very.
The only way you can do that is through thought leadership. There's no other way.
Yeah. Let me ask you about the flip side to thought leadership, and that's making mistakes. I mean, I talk to lots of entrepreneurs, and most of them recognize that they make mistakes. You know, I mean, I've certainly made, I think probably my claim to fame is I've made absolutely more mistakes than anybody else. What sort of, when you think about building your business, what sort of mistakes have you made and what sort of impact have they had?
Well, worst is that I'm an idea guy, right? So one of the things is like, and ideas are good. It makes you feel good. Okay, wow, you're so creative. But there is a whole lot of downstream execution that needs to happen. Otherwise, you will lose steam midstream and things will never see reality, right? So they say don't talk ideas or don't just think about them, build them. Because many a times those ideas when fleshed out and when you start putting things on paper, then, and also because don't fall in love with your idea because, it's your idea. Put it in front of the people who you're trying to serve and see if those guys would be willing to take that up. And will they definitely benefit? So that's one thing. So you got to not hold your horses in terms of coming up with ideas because they naturally come, but put them in what I call as an opportunity register. Put it somewhere. Don't let it go away because you could always come back and look at it, say, hey, is it a good time for me to pick this next one and start working on it?
And are you saying that the mistake is that you've had good ideas, then you've lost them? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because I worked on too many ideas or I thought, okay, let's try this and let's try this. So some of my team members would say, okay, Sanjog, we can't keep up with your ideas.
Yeah.
And nothing would get done. Right? So that is one thing which is absolutely something we have to tackle. Now, the other thing which is also important is you got to build systems. If you get too enamored with the ideas and that thing doesn't get executed, so repeatability and reliability of operations, if it's not created, no matter how small you are, then you will be continually fighting fires.
And are you saying that's another mistake that you've made? That is that?
Yes, because see, when you're trying to do too many things,
Yeah.
so the new things excites you versus making sure that the process is run every time the same way.
Yeah. 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 So you're saying two things. One, don't work on too many things, and two, if you are going to work on something, make sure you get the process right. And that seems to me to be pretty good advice, actually. I mean, and hard-won lessons by the sounds of things.
Yeah, I mean, and that is true because see, frankly, your value creation or as a business, people will only give you money in return of your services or products when they see that they're satisfied, and then they will only stay with you when they are repeatedly satisfied, and that's what builds a brand.
Yeah.
And the repeatability of value is not because you're burning midnight oil just yourself as a person, but actually the system which helps everybody who's working have a clear path forward, and they know what's the metric, and there are checks and balances. All of that is part of the system. Only then you relate. So if you go to a burger shop and you go anywhere around the world, if you're getting the same tasting burger at a certain temperature, that is because of a system, not that high school kid who is flipping that burger. So you got to make your business people independent and systems dependent solely, so that people come and go, business goes on.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, otherwise the business is never going to thrive, is it, if you don't do that?
It's not going to go beyond a certain point. You'll keep spinning your wheels because all your energies will go, in that way. And then there is also something about, you got to build a culture which aligns with what you're trying to build, which partly comes from what you tolerate, and secondly, who you hire to help build that culture.
Yeah. And so let me ask you about those two things, because those are both interesting things. I mean, your point was culture is about what you tolerate. I mean, just explain what you mean by that, because I think that's a really interesting way of looking at how you build culture.
So you can build, so because everybody is nice, that's one thing I go with, right? So every human being that I get is nice. But they always test waters, including your own kids, right? They will try to do things which may feel good for them, but that may not be in the best interest of the company. Or if somebody starts, creating toxicity in an environment, or they start showing slackness in their work, or they are tardy, and if you tolerate, then the people who are performers, they'll say, why do I have to work extra hard to maintain my position when it is tolerated within the company? And that becomes one of the attributes of the culture.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it's a really important point you made there. And the other point about getting the right people on the bus, I mean, what's your take on that? Because you want to get people that fit with that culture, don't you? I mean, what's your take on the best way to do that?
See, if a person wants to invest in themselves, and they've shown signs of that, and they have the attitude that, okay, if I'm given something, I will give it my best. I may not have all the answers. I may even not have the skills, but I'm hungry to learn. I have the work ethic that I'm going to do the right things and when even no one is looking, basically high integrity. And if they have some skills so that they know what they are getting into, because we even take interns who are like raw canvas, right? We also get those people in our company, but some of them who we have to bring at a certain level, even if they've learned, and we interestingly get a lot of them to unlearn a lot of things that they learned earlier because they don't apply to us or they have to be done differently. So are they willing to unlearn? Are they hungry to learn new things which they haven't learned? And they're willing to give whatever it takes. And are they willing to take the accountability that, okay, I'm asking you for an estimate to do something. You're the one who's going to assess it. I will even help you put some extra pad in there to say, okay, if you're not able to do it in 1 day, do it in 1.5 days. But once you agree, are you going to make that happen? It's all about accountability of what you're committing. You're hungry to learn because you know you don't know it all. You don't fall in love with the idea, because if something gets shot down, you don't think so that it is a hit on the I. It is a correction on the it. It is the role. I is the identity of a person.
Mm.
And those are the signs you see. You will not get 100% perfect person. You at least check for these, then you put them on the job, then you see how they perform, allow them some systems, some processes, some coaching and mentoring. And that, in 3 months to 6 months to sometimes in a year, depending on the role, will show whether this person and us are a fit together. We never say this person is bad, right?
Mm.
We may not be a fit for them.
Mm. I mean, it's quite a complex process working out whether somebody's the right fit, isn't it? Because people.
Yeah, so you can not know at the time of interviewing, I can guarantee that. But what you could do is to sense of what they've done in the past. How did they go and deal with different situations? What were their perception at the time it happened, whether it was something not happening right or happening right? What caused that? So if you have an interview more on scenario based, get to understand what they are, and then what do they want to become? Because one of the things which I always ask is, okay, if you came here, what would you like to see yourself do and become in, say, 3 years? And what is the life in the day of John Smith, who I'm hiring, which will give them a very good experience and a satisfaction as they walk away every day at home, when they go back home? What would that look like? If I can figure out a way to match that with what we are doing, and it will be changing, things would change, I'm sure. But at least if you are aware of what their view is of what will give them happiness, what will give them, the career that they are aspiring for. So we are a platform. We never say we are an employer. We always tell people we are a platform which can offer you opportunities. And then we have to work together to see how you can contribute to help build this platform. So if suppose I'm the CEO and I'm saying I'm not liking what you're giving, I will always give them a rationale, and that rationale is never ego driven. It's never a personal opinion. It's always saying we have set up this organization to create impact for a certain set of people. Anything that you're bringing as an idea, before even coming to me, you do the filtration yourself. Is it going to create impact? Is it going to create a reputational risk? Is it going to help people see us as givers? If not, then why would you even bring the idea?
Yeah. And that, I guess, is about helping people get really positive things out of work, isn't it? And feel good about
Absolutely
what they're doing.
You always try. You always try, not every time. And that's why I said it's a journey.
Yeah. Let me ask you about that. I mean, let me ask you. I mean, we have to wind up in a minute, but let me ask you a couple of final questions. I mean, when you think about the business, I mean, whenever we've spoken, you always come across as really positive, and really excited about what you're doing. But what would you say is the thing that you have enjoyed most or valued the most about what you've been doing?
Well, it allows me to, I've created a impact billionaire mission statement for myself. It's a complete document, okay?
Right.
And it is a vision I have that, okay, if I can achieve this, I could impact 1 billion people through whatever I do during the life I'm on this planet Earth. That's an aspiration I have, right? And accordingly, all the entities that I've created and whatever I'm doing, they are all aligned to that impact billionaire mission. Okay? And once I have this clarity, and which I do, now it's a matter of going through the execution, going through the growth, going through the turbulences, whatever that will come our way. But if I'm able to keep my eyes on the ball, I could not have asked for a better life. Because things will happen every day. But am I having clarity of who I'm serving, how I wish to serve, what kind of a modality in which I could be serving, whether through a company and others, and I'm going to spend time building it, spend my lifetime building it. And I think when I'm working, my kids always talk to me. They say, I never see you stop working, but because I tell them that this is not work. I mean, how much more fortunate I could be, and whatever mistakes I made in the beginning.
Entrepreneurs that I've spoken to feel that way about what they do. They're very passionate about it and they feel good doing it, which seems to me to be a pretty good thing. I mean, I totally get that. Let me ask you about one last thing. So if you think back, if you were to start from scratch, if you were to go back to day one for the sake of argument, is there anything you do differently as a result of what you've learned?
I would have built more systems if you talk in the business context.
Right.
If it was business, because there are two sides of my life, right? One is the business, which is the entity that I'm building, and second is the I, right? So I was always a learner. I was always inquisitive. All of those things were there. But I would be more empathetic, right? Even beyond what I am today, so that I see it from the other people's viewpoint.
Yeah.
And, just make sure that because it's my dream, I can't impose that on everybody who works with me, even though I am trying to hire people who buy into that dream.
Yeah.
So if they come and work with me, and whatever I build, I want their life to be fulfilling as well during the journey.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're sort of saying it's about walking in other people's shoes, isn't it? Understanding how other people see things and the values of that. Yeah. Yeah. I totally understand that. And a great piece of advice to end on, understand the world that other people live in. I think that's a really, really good piece of advice there. Sanjog, thanks for taking a bit of time out to come and have a chat. Such an interesting story. It's such an interesting business that you've developed. I mean, I really appreciate you being willing to come and talk about it. So good luck going forward. I'm sure you've got lots of exciting things ahead of you. So, thanks for, talking about what you've been doing and good luck for the next lot.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers then. See you soon.
Alrighty. You take care.